Good day and God bless. Welcome to And It Came to Pass, I Am Dana. Last time we went over Matthew chapter 1, and we discovered that the stepfather of Jesus, Joseph, is a direct descendant of King David. Now, when we go over chapter 2 here, there will be a couple of things you will see that don't jive with what we've all been taught growing up. So, without any further ado, let's read chapter 2 of Matthew. Matthew chapter 2. Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he'd gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes for Judah? For out of thee shall come a governor, that shall rule my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, and said, Go and search diligently for the young child, and when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold, and frankincense, and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeareth to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night, and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt have I called my son. Then Herod, when he had saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, In Ramah there was a voice heard, lamentation and weeping, great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted, because they are not. But when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeareth in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead which sought the young child's life. And he arose, and took the young child and his mother, and came into the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea in the room of his father Herod, he was afraid to go thither. Notwithstanding, being warned of God in a dream, he turned aside into the parts of Galilee. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, He shall be called a Nazarene. So we see a few things written in here that I want to bring to your attention. The first is in verse 7. He called the wise men and inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. This was because he needed to know how old Jesus was in order to kill him. And if you also notice, over and over and over again in this chapter, we see Jesus being called the young child. Not a baby, but a young child. And that is why, when we skip down to verse 16, he had all the children in the whole area slaughtered from 2 years old and under. That may seem insignificant at first blush, but think about it. Every Christmas, when you go out into the neighborhood, you go by any church, you go to any school play, or Christmas play in general, what is the scene that you see? You see 3 wise men, 3 shepherds, Joseph, Mary, and a baby in a manger. Clearly, that is not what we are reading here in the book. And a glaring reason why we need to read what is actually in the book. Because if we allow our children and ourselves to be indoctrinated with the commercialized version, then we will never understand what is actually written in the Bible. I think that's extremely important. Now you're also going to notice that there are no mention of shepherds in this chapter. And there's a reason for that. We will hear about them later in this series. But I want to bring your attention to this. Many times in the scripture, you'll find a chapter and verse, for instance, Matthew chapter 2, verse 5 and 6, that is alluding to what the prophets had said earlier in time. Well, I'm going to do my best to make sure that these are all linked together and in the show notes below. As you can see here, Matthew chapter 2, verses 5 and 6 are in relation to Micah chapter 5, verse 2. Now, I will also try my best to include stuff like this. I went and searched out the reasons, potentially, for the gifts of frankincense, gold, and myrrh. And I will drop that in the video description below this video as well. My intention here is to keep these as short as possible, as accurate as possible, and to give you all the links that are relevant to what we just read. Now, the realizations we came to in chapter 1, with Joseph being the stepfather, and chapter 2, about the wise men coming to see a child who was not in a manger, they may seem like small things to most people. But if you're going to understand the Bible and what Jesus actually says and what he taught, then we need to be accurate. And that, I believe, is one of the main reasons that Jesus says over and over and over again to read the scriptures. Churches, Bible studies, courses, all that stuff is great. But it all comes down to you reading what is actually written. So, can't wait to see what we discover in chapter 3. Until next time, have a great day, and God bless.